It's Blake's Buzz Live. Buzz, 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 buzz. It's Blake's Buzz Live. Buzz, 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 buzz. It's Blake's Buzz Live. More, hate less, read comics. It's Blake's Buzz Live.
Buzz, buzz, babies.
Hey, Buzz babies, it's Friday. How is everybody doing? It's been a week, right? And I'm really glad that it's the end of it. It's the weekend. And it's also, I don't know if anybody's been paying attention to the internet today, it's Letterer Appreciation Day, and letterers are the unsung rock star heroes of our industry. They make these books readable, and they just think about that. Like, a lot of your favorite comic books, the reasons why they're some of your favorites is because they're lettered well. Because if they weren't, they'd be hard to read, they'd be sloppy, they'd be cluttered, and you may not be as into them as you are right now. So really think about that. Think about your favorite comic books. Look up the letterer. Say hey to him on Twitter today, and say thanks for doing a good job. And also, head over to my Twitter. I'm doing a giveaway. I'm giving away Nate Piekos's Essential Guide to Lettering. It's supposed to be like a really good book, both for letters and for, just anybody to read, to kind of learn about the craft, to learn more about comics. So I'm really stoked to give that away to one lucky winner. We're going to run the contest through the weekend. I'll do the drawing on Monday and announce it. So check that out. And yeah, hope someone's going to win a cool book. And now, without further ado, this show has been a long time coming. I've known this creator for a while. He's been doing some really, really cool stuff on Kickstarter. He's the creator. I mean, he draws it, he writes it, he letters it, he does everything for the Kickstarter phenomenon, Blam and Glam. I have Richard Morgan in the house. What's up, baby? How you doing?
I do not know how to follow that. Thank you so much. Yeah, it's going good. I mean, it's almost. I mean, we're on our way to midnight over here in the UK. But thanks for having me on the show. It's brilliant.
Yeah,
yes,
thanks for staying up late for me. Appreciate it. You got to be a little used to that, though. You've done a couple other shows with, like, I know, like Pink Buzz and House of Nerd and some of those other guys. So like you're used to us keeping you up late so that we can hype your comics over here across the pond, right?
Yeah, I think usually we go into like 1 or 2 a.m. and then and then the next day I'm just a wreck. So I just don't know what to do. I sort of get up and I'm all bleary eyed. I'm like, what do I do now? But
Where am I?
But also, what year is this? Who's the president? That's where we are. But I suppose at the same time I'm also doing late nights doing the comics as well, because it's not my daytime gig.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, I should be used to it by now.
No, man, always make us feel guilty. That's the it's like, it's your guys' fault. You messed up my sleep schedule. Now the art schedule's all fucked. Everything's ruined. Everything's delayed. Fulfillment's behind. It's all our fault. Remember that, ladies and gentlemen. No, speaking of fulfillment, I do want to shout you out. Just, as the creator of Blam and Glam, and like, you do all the fulfillment yourself, and your campaigns have been getting bigger and bigger. And you do a lot of art sales and stuff too. And just like the pride you take in shipping your products, like, whether it's, local or when you send it over to us and your fans over here, you always do like a really good job. And you always, like, I feel your campaigns fulfill very quickly, and you do several campaigns a year. I mean, you're just a fucking workhorse, dude. Like, do you ever stop? Like, like,
I mean, when I stop, it all go wrong.
Okay. Yeah. So you got to keep the train going, right? Yeah. Okay.
But no, I appreciate that, because I mean, a lot of work goes into, like planning it all, putting it all together, and then shipping it out. And I just want to make sure that by the time it gets in someone's hand, it's not ruined by the post office.
Yeah,
and
they'll try and ruin it too.
Like, that's like a challenge.
They'll go out of the way. They're like, "Is this too big for the mailbox? We'll fold it in half. That'll do it." Hit it over their knee.
It's like, even where you are, they've got those amazing Gemini boxes, and they're like,
Yeah.
"Come on, try me," and you can roll a tank over it, and drop a bomb on it, and it's like, yeah, I'm gonna arrive, and I've spent ages trying to find a box like that. We've finally managed to find one, so that's quite cool.
Oh no, I didn't realize that you guys didn't have those over there.
No, the only way to get them is you have to import them, which is like expensive. Or some places have them, but they're super expensive. I mean, they're worth it. They're really good. But yeah, well, I managed to find one that's got reinforced edges. It's all the same level of stuff. And unfortunately, part of this room, which is full of boxes, over there is full of packaging boxes. Which is crazy.
Is all that behind you, or is all that like back issue and Glam and Glam merch? That?
I mean, you see the really bad handwriting. Here it's like 3 and 4 nude, 2 white and red, and number 4. There's a box here that's slightly damaged, but that's because I've already been through it and it was actually quite fine. But that's one section. There's actually a whole section over there.
Oh,
and
wow.
then downstairs there's some more boxes from 6, and I was seriously considering I'm gonna have to get some storage, which is going to be like £1,500, like £150 a month, which is like $200 almost. And then we remembered my son is going to university in a month's time, and he's moving out. So I'm like, and my friend went, "That's your storage room."
There's your storage, yeah.
And I went, "There you go." When he comes back at Christmas, he'll be like sleeping among the boxes.
Yeah, just throw a futon mattress like on top of some boxes and be like, "You're good, bud. You're good." That's awesome. Hey, it's a good problem to have, because like I said, it's been, being there from Blam and Glam 1, and watching all these campaigns and how you've progressed and found this audience, and just like you're getting exponentially, like larger, like upwards of like 200, 300 backers. And like, right now you got 4 days left to go. You're at 281 backers, and you're at 19,400 American. And that's like, dude, it's crazy impressive, like what you're doing with Blam and Glam. And it's even more impressive because it's all you. This is your idea. This is your artwork. You're doing everything yourself. So I guess like something I've always wanted to know, and I'm sure you've said this in other interviews, but I'm going to go ahead and ask you again, like, how did this, I know it started where you had this idea of like, what would it be like to wake up with amnesia, and you took the quarantine clusterfuck, right, and made that into something creative and beautiful and awesome. But like, what, how did these two elements like come to be in the great mind of Richard Morgan and then explode onto comic book pages internationally? Like, how did this all happen?
I think my wife would say the great dirty mind of Richard Morgan is crazy, because when she looks at it, she's like, "What are you drawing?" That's just cool. It's weird because it was actually about 1.5 years before lockdown happened. Like, so here, I don't know when you guys locked down. We locked down in March 2021.
Okay.
2020. And before then, I'd had the idea of this character. I'd spent a little while. It all started with, I started to code games on an iPad. Right. One day I was on my way to work, and I'm like, I really need to do something with my train journey, because I go from here into London. It's like an hour on the overground train, where I could sit down and do stuff. So I learned how to code games on the iPad, and actually released them on the store. I mean, they've stopped now, but I released them on the store. And when I was doing that, I realized that the last time I tried to do comics was 30 years ago. And I'd given up. I want to draw like Jim Lee, and my stuff was rubbish. And then I went to a Comic-Con and showed some work, and they went, "Yeah, this is rubbish." And I was like, "Okay, brilliant." And I went, "I'll stop doing that, and I'll go to college and do advertising." But anyway, I was learning. As I was doing these games I was working on, I went, "Do you know what? I want to get back into art." So I started to learn how to paint and draw again, and I started doing different stuff. And after those games were out, and I was doing something, I thought, I've now got the
I think we might be having some technical difficulties. Well, I guess let's say hi to the chat. What's up, Ronan? Hey, bud. Thanks for tuning in. Good morning. We got Gareth. What's up, Gareth? Thanks for tuning in. We got Scouts, Adrian Caleric. Holy shit. What's up, man? Thanks for tuning in. Hopefully Richard unfreezes or something. Or like, I don't know what's going on. He's stuck. Anyways, I don't know what you guys are doing today, but I spent an hour and 40 minutes on hold with the government, and and finally had to bounce out because I had to go live with Richard. So yeah, that was super fun, but I'm really glad that that's over, and now I get to hang out live with you beautiful people, and hopefully Richard eventually. This is a new one. I haven't been live solo in a long time. Let's see. Did you know the Ninja Turtle movie is out today? And your boy got paid for some freelance work. So I think once all this is wrapped up, I think I may drop those 25 bones and buy me that new Ninja Turtle movie and watch it. And I'm pretty excited for that. And also probably get excited to play some Destiny. I also been thinking about buying Armored Core. Yes, I've been getting back into games, and it's dangerous because they suck up a lot of time. And I don't know if you guys know this, like I'm a busy dude. Like I don't have as much time as I used to anymore. You know, it's things are crazy. But like good crazy, right? I'm very very lucky, and I'm very fortunate. And this new day job I've found is very fulfilling, and it's fun. And I was telling Richard in the green room, like it's crazy getting to play with his art. You know, like and I told him I felt bad. I was like, man, I feel bad sometimes that I'm taking these like beautiful pieces you're making and turning them into like corporate shill bullshit to try and like get backers and make money. And he laughed. But yeah, it's been cool, man. I've had some people reach out and tell me I've been doing a good job, and you know, like it's nice. It's nice to get that validation when you spend a long time working for people that didn't give a shit about you and got, you know, felt stuck, felt scared to leave, right? You know, and it's nice to change that up. And it's just working in this field, working with comic books, working with creators, working with crowdfunders. It's amazing. It's amazing to be a part of this world. And now I think a lot of you know, like I recently got a couple pages in an anthology for Cthulhu Invades Neverland, which funded on Kickstarter. And so not only am I just part of the comic book marketing world, I've now created a short comic that's going to be in a book, and I'm going to get to hold it and look at it and stare at it and read it, and along with like so many other great creatives. Adrian says Richard's art is insane. His book should be in everyone's hands. It really should. And you know, his campaigns are getting bigger and better, you know, all the time. So it's I love seeing his success. I keep waiting for it to get picked up by someone. Like it's kind of shocking to me that, and I don't, maybe he hasn't pitched it around. That's a good question to ask him. But because some people don't want to, like some people would rather just hang out on Kickstarter or crowdfunder and do it yourself. And you know, especially in the position he's in, you know, he's figured out a way to streamline it and make it happen. And his audience, you know, he's developing quite the audience that follows him from campaign to campaign. So I love the success he's getting. He's a good dude, and he deserves it. He's got a cool comic. Blam and Glam is it's not like a lot of what's out there. Just the digitally painted interiors. You know, I actually talked about this with someone the other day because Richard calls it an adult comic. And because of the covers and the provocative clothing, and there are nude covers as well, but you know, the interiors, there's not sex and nudity like inside. It's just a fun sci-fi story, and you know, Glam wears a sexy outfit, and it's really just a book about a strong female protagonist trying to figure out, you know, she can't remember anything from her past, and so she's trying to, you know, figure out her past, figure out what's going on, and stop these you know, digitized demons from taking over the earth as we know it, you know. And it's cool. And when I told people about that, what's up, Richard? I've been winging it.
Sorry, I'm so sorry.
No worries, man. I was
The
actually
internet
telling
just
the
dropped
story.
out.
I was telling a story about how recently someone replied to some of the posts on Blue Sky, some of the posts I've been making for Blam and Glam, and they were like, man, I really like this art, but you know, like I'm not really into the adult comic scene. And I explained to them, and I was like, well, I mean, it's adult, you know, because of her clothing, and you know, there you have like the nude covers and do well on those, but like, you know, the comic book story, it's not, it's you know, it's there's no like nudity and sex in the issue. It's you know, it's a story about a strong woman trying to figure out her past, trying to figure out how to make the world a better place, you know, and in an impossible situation because the world that you've made is dark and dreary as fuck. Like, you know, it's just like I don't know how we can ever get past it, but you know, it's and when I told them that, they were like, oh shit, well, I'm about to check it out, and I was like, yeah, you should totally check it out. It's a good book. But I mean, I also I mean, I know you sell a lot of those covers as well, and so like, and you know, you're not the only one on Kickstarter, you know, with you know, doing the sexy cover pinup deal, and there's a lot of stuff on crowdfunding that it has no substance. It's just like it's just cheeky horny art with not a great story, not intriguing characters, you know, not any kind of like, you know, worldview commentary like you're playing with, and so I kind of wanted to hit that to and like let people know that like, yes, like she's dressed sexy, you know, and she looks sexy on the page, but you know, it's also it's a very cool story about like Glam finding herself and
Yeah.
finding her footing in this fresh dystopian tale that you've built. Is that, have you ever had like a problem with that? Like, well, obviously not, because your campaigns get bigger and bigger, I guess. But like, has anyone ever like come to you and been like, well, you know, if you didn't have boobs on your cover, I might actually read this or something? Like, do you ever get like attitude about that?
I think the thing is actually is because it's mixed. Some people are like, you know, why is there not more inside? And I'm like, because it's not that sort of story.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's purposely done a certain way to grab your attention. Like I always wanted to do when you drop someone in the shit, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, like at the beginning, and they've got to find their way out. How could it be? You know, how could it work?
Yeah.
And and it's really connected to her, and we don't know about her yet. And you're right, it's an adult comic, but it's not about sex. It's not about that. She happens to be dressed that way, which is, you know, because I like drawing people that way. It's everyday clothes we wear is just boring.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how, you know, how can I have a bit of fun with it? But also I wanted it to be a way in. So there's a certain audience it taps into where they're like, I like collecting these, but yeah, give them a good story. Hopefully it's a good story that they'll enjoy. But there's a reason why, you know, and the good thing is when you read issue, I think 5 it is, there's a bit that starts to connect with her why she's that way.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because I mean, there's a pattern. I always say the comics have a pattern to them, and when you work out the pattern, you start to be able to put together the wider story as it comes together. And yeah, she's that way, but she still doesn't know who she is or why she's like this. And she's then up against all this other stuff, which means I always thought it was the amnesia part is good because it's like us. We dropped into this world and you go, where do I start? And the only way to start is either by telling a backstory, which doesn't really work. You know, sometimes it's, you know, it's like a prologue or whatever. But I like the idea we're discovering as she discovers, and we're revealing about her as we discover that at the same time. But yeah, it's funny because it's a bit like a Trojan horse. I want people to be reading this and going, right, now I'm going to take you on a different journey. Because, you know, you'll touch on it. The characters, there are more diverse characters in it, but it's not a diverse character story. They are, but that's I want to tell a story about the wider world, but use her as the vehicle in. Because otherwise, if I just go, it's a diverse story, then some people will go, oh, it's not for me. And actually, I think it's important because, you know, because all the friends we have, you know, everyone's from different backgrounds, you know, especially here in the UK, it's very multicultural. You know, grew up with people of all different ethnicities and backgrounds and opportunities. And I want that to come across in, you know, in the works I do. but it's interesting. You don't start out that way. You go on the journey and take people that way as well, which I think is quite interesting.
Yeah.
But it's unfortunately the bit I dropped off at was when I said, because it was like I started to draw the character, but she was just a loose sketch. I didn't know what she was doing. She'd be fighting demons. I had no story, and it was going to be like post-apocalyptic London. No idea what's happened, and I needed something. And then the pandemic hit, and then we sat there every day watching our prime minister get on the telly and tell us, "Stay at home,
Yeah.
protect the NHS." Avoid COVID, and it was this platform, and I went, this is it. And so it switched from being, it's an alternative 2020, it switched from being a pandemic to what I call a pandemonic, because it's a demon invasion.
Yeah.
And we unreveal these bits as we go, and it's a wider political stage. I mean, at this point, because this is season 1, we're looking at the UK. We're only looking at London so far, so there's all a wider opportunity with the UK to play with, potentially a global stage as well. This isn't just here. Where else could it be? And that's the question could get bigger. So I think that helped me unlock the story. And the first Kickstarter was a sketchbook. It was like I'd spent a year drawing this character, and I was getting more confident with how I was painting her. And I thought, do you know what? I want to do a Kickstarter at some point. Let's do a test with the sketchbook. And it was the first one. It did really well. It got like 50 people bought the sketchbook, and my mind was blown. I was like, this is amazing. I didn't even have the story yet. And then COVID hit, and then I had the story. So it was quite a good way of doing it.
Nice.
But originally I was going to do an 8-part graphic novel. So it was 8 volumes. It was all one big thing. And then I thought, no, I'm going to spend 2-3 years doing this and not doing it. And I looked into stuff, and people were saying, look, get your comic out first, and then the first one's out there, and then the second one you build on it, and then the third one and your audience grows with you as well, which is better than trying to get, I think, one out in one go, because you tap a tiny audience and then you don't necessarily have a chance to re-engage with them. So I think it was, that was a good, I can't remember where I got that advice, but that was a really good piece of advice. And I think that's the thing that you help build on. But yeah, I mean, hopefully the person you're chatting to will check out the comic, and hopefully I might like the craziness of the story, as they go.
Yeah, because I agree, man. It's you have so much going on, but I mean, just like thinking about it from like a marketing standpoint, right? Like you have these beautiful covers. Now you're getting these new artists, right? These new artists that also make beautiful covers for you. And, like they're giving you, they're working on it with you. And so you have these like great variant options and variants. People love variants on Kickstarter, right? So like you got that going on, and then you can go like the sexy pinup, or you can go all the way sexy, not safe for work. Like you give people these options. But then, like I said, like once you really crack into the story, there's a lot of depth there, and there's, it's intriguing because, I think new people that just stumble across that, like may not get that, which may be a hurdle, but you also have like those Kickstarter numbers and those backer numbers, right? And they can like look at the metrics and they can be like, oh, well, yeah, this campaign funded in minutes. Oh, like over almost 300 people have backed this. Oh, it's almost got $20,000, like maybe I should see what's going on here. Right. And then I think you do a good job, like on your Kickstarter pages too, of just like, you have like a writerly way of talking about things, when you're like, oh, like this dilemma of like losing your memory, and I wanted to explore that, and I wanted to explore the pandemic in a different way. And it's just like all of us can like latch on to that, because like guess what, like I would like to explore memories there. I wish I could like selectively forget shit and remember other shit better, right? But also like the pandemic was a hard time for a lot of us. And so, exploring a story where, you got to manipulate that and turn it into something else that, like, and fictionalize it and then make it beautiful with your art. That to me is very intriguing, because so many people just shut down or got really depressed or and had like a really hard time with it. And so it's very cool when I hear stories about people like you that are like, like I could have I could have like, locked myself in and gotten down on myself and not done anything but like, watch TV or whatever, and it's like, no, man, you went to work, like you went to work in a different way. And and it's I commend you for that. And like Charlie Stickney says, you've done a great job building a following. And from campaign to campaign, it's they get bigger and bigger, and that's the goal. That's the dream, man. You're living it. You're making comic books, and people are buying them internationally. Yeah.
Well, unless it is, I never thought it would. I never thought it worked out. Like I said, I tried doing this 30 odd years ago, and I went, it's not going to work. And then all of a sudden, it started to work, which is crazy. And coming from Charlie Stickney, that's an amazing comment. Do you know what I mean? Because like that's brilliant.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's like people were reading it in Japan, Singapore. There was even one in Qatar.
Wow.
Which I'm like, can I send this out to Qatar? Hopefully it'll get through. I'm not sure. But yeah, like America's big, Canada's big. And it blows my mind that people are waking up in different parts of the world. The package is there and they read the comic. And and you was talking about, because as you said, I'm doing everything on it. The story's up here. I had the 8-part outline. And it's sort of, where it's going, and I'm fleshing out each issue as we go, so that way I really build on it. And sometimes I might change a bit where the story goes, but I'm trying something very different with the story, which some people won't get, and some people there's a little bit of a split, and I think most of it's in the favor of the story. Like a lot of people I connect with on all different channels, all different social media, will go, when the next one comes out, they have to reread all the last ones, right? Because they have to remember all those little bits that aren't quite joining up yet. And when they read the new issue, they go, oh, that's that, and there's bits that are planted right in the first issue, which will come up as we're going along, but also innate, right? And you'll see all the seeds have been there all along, but it may not make sense until it all comes together at the last minute. Like the way I create things is there's all this stuff floating around, and then it just clicks into place, and you go, that's what you were doing. And I remember I was doing covers for this retailer in Canada. Cool guy, reached out on the first Kickstarter and said, can you do some limited covers for me? And I was like, brilliant. And I did a limited edition. We did like 100 copies of the issue 1 and issue 2. He wants to do the lot. I think by issue 2, I think sales probably weren't working for him. They were working for me, but I don't think they were working out for him. And we were getting in, and it was a conversation where he was saying, I'm not too sure it's working. I'm like, that's no problem. He says, but I wonder if you should change your comic. And I was like, actually, I don't think, like, I've got something in mind I'm doing, and I want to see it through. And it wasn't being out of order, it was just a suggestion. And I said, I take on board a suggestion, but I don't think that's for me. I'm not about to change what I'm doing, because I'm trying something different that parts of it I haven't seen in comics before. It's like, I would never be this, but Chris Claremont is brilliant, right? Chris Claremont, and because I was a big X-Men fan.
Nice.
Was grounding stuff from the 80s into the 90s, and it was all this stuff was there, and it was sort of, again, like this whole soup stuff coming together, and you go, wow, there was this great big thread connecting quite a lot of things. And this is nowhere near that scale. This is small, but there's stuff in here that I'm connecting the threads. Like you look at a page in the first issue and you go, why is there a comet? Right? And then it might appear in a couple of the other issues. Why is it traveling through space, and why do we not know about this? And it's like on purpose, because this stuff starts to reveal later. There's other things like that where, as I say, like the comic's a bit about patterns, and when you realize the pattern, it makes you then question the first issue, and you go, hang on a minute, does that mean something else? And that's what I want to do. Like, it's funny, I've got issue 2 here. It's a blank cover. I'm going to start a little sketch in a minute, which we might be able to do in time. But the first 3 pages of issue 2 are purposely confusing, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think somebody reading it and they're gone from issue 1 will go, is that an error? And it's purposely written a certain way. So your brain goes, is that right? And then when you get to page 5, you go, oh, hang on a minute. And then you realize something about the patterns that are going on. And I think that's what I love misdirection, right? So there's some whole things going on. Like by the time you get to 8, we will realize who Glam is, right? And the seeds have been there from the beginning.
That's
and
exciting.
we'll realize who she is, and she'll potentially realize or scratch the surface of who she is. And even then, that's going to be, hopefully, this is, where people weren't thinking it was going. So, this is the thing. I'm trying to see who's on the journey, who's unlocking things as they go, and who's going, what's that?
I like that. I like that you aren't afraid to challenge your readers. Because like there's a lot of cookie cutter shit in comic books, right? And I get why they do it, for deadlines and for canon purposes, and and some stuff is just made to sell variants or like big event tie-ins and stuff like that, and it's just like there's a simplistic side of comics, and because I think some people are scared to take risks, right? And some people are scared to put pressure on the readers. Like we can't make the reader feel dumb, but like you can though. Like, and I mean, I kind of like it. I like being challenged as a reader. I like to read stuff that makes me think, right? I like to see a seed grow into something 4 or 5 issues down the line, and even if I have to go back and remind myself of it, but to like find that interconnectivity and to have it blossom into something new and fresh and a new story beat. Like I love that shit. And that's one of the reasons why, like, I love Grant Morrison, and like I never know what Grant's going to do, and I usually get lost several times in a Grant Morrison story, but like he gets you back where you need to be. And I feel like Blam and Glam does that too. And you're very much like, you aren't afraid to jostle your readers, but you also take care of us in the end, right? You're like,
yeah,
you're like, trust in me, guys, and I'm going to get you there. And we've been trusting in you, right? And it's you're working on issue 7 right now, and doing the campaign, and then coming up on 8 and finalizing this season 1 arc, and just like kind of what you said earlier about like thinking about like the global aspect of it, or even like the wider like countryside part of it, like beyond London, and like the places that you could take this story when you kind of like blow it up and explore and give it like more space to breathe. And it's exciting to think of like what you can do. And I'm so glad that you have the audience and the backers to do that. Like like you can get a little weird and people are still going to follow you, or you should know by now that like, hey, season 2 is going to happen. Like, see, everybody's on board with season 1. I'm going to leave them with a nasty cliffhanger, and then like, and then, come back for season 2. And it's cool to see you gain that momentum. How, I mean, like from a marketing standpoint, or like strategizing, like how did you kind of like find your audience, or was it like a happy accident that like this caught on with so many people, or are you like a marketing mastermind, like kind of like what?
I'd like to. That'd be fantastic. I mean, I've done marketing for about 30 years.
Okay.
30 years. Where are we? 20? No, since 97. Right. So I'm working in the ad industry.
Okay.
So there's little bits I've probably been taken on board here or there, but the audience was originally Instagram, and it was the audience that were following the game development. And then some of the audience stayed when I was doing the art development and the character development, and other people were new to it. So the key thing was Instagram. It took a while to build up.
Okay.
And it meant I could tap into some of the audience. And to be honest, I didn't know much about Kickstarter until I started to reach out. I backed a game. I backed a game 8 years ago, which hasn't happened yet. on Kickstarter, and it's a well-known game. But I won't go into the details. But it's a well-known game. I'm still hopeful it's going to happen because the package I went for was pretty cool, and that was my first understanding of there's a platform of crowdfunding, and I didn't know I could self-publish and do that. So it was then going, actually, this is the good opportunity. So by connecting my Instagram audience with that, and then realizing the Kickstarter audience is massive. You know, it's like when you do your Kickstarter, you account for certain fees, right? I always say there's 10% of Kickstarter fees. It's something like 4.5 and 4.5, which is about 9%, right? And I go, to get access to a global audience and the sales in which it does, it's worth it. You know, when your figures get like a bit higher, you go, oh, that's a lot of money to give someone. And you go, no, they give you this platform that gets you such a reach you never had.
Yeah.
It's worth it. So I go, brilliant. So I go, there's that. I then go, sometimes like 5% might drop off because of cards don't get charged. And then I go, right, what's left? And I work that stuff out. And it's a good way to plan how that stuff's going to work, how you can, you know, make it work as a business. But I think Kickstarter is good for that because it trains you to be your own business.
Okay.
And then you start to, you know, I'd already been building up how do you do stuff on Instagram, how to talk about the comic, hopefully in the right way. And hopefully I'm doing it right on Kickstarter. I don't know. You know, I mean, there's other ones out there where they're like flying.
Yeah.
Know, but at the same time, it is way beyond I expected already, which is fantastic. I'd never thought it would do this. And I think it's a great platform for anyone to put something out. And I think that's how you start, is with the audience you've got, and you take them on a journey.
Okay.
And reward them for being the first in. Like you say, you know, you read the first issue, and I remember you buying it, and it was so cool because you go, you've been there from the get-go, and you've seen it change and evolve as well. You know, as there's a question on here, Tom Levine, how have you found Instagram to be useful? And it's been the core for how I built the audience I could tap into on Kickstarter. It gave me the confidence that people were following the works and they liked it. And then I still do, there's a correlation. I'm advertising across both. You know, I'm advertising across that on Twitter, and it's connecting. And there are people who you follow, but it attracts new people as well. Probably not as much as it used to. And I know this is the whole algorithm. And
yeah. That clusterfuck.
all that messing up. But you're building on your, so it's useful. And also it means you can test things with them. You know, they were the first to see stuff, so you can test.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, it's mind blowing that you can make it work.
So what's cool to me too is that you kind of started your creative endeavors started in like the video game realm and like mobile gaming and stuff. So like what kind of video game nerd are you? Like, do you still game? Like, do you find time to like game still, or are you too busy for that these days?
So, I mean, I'm way too busy, but I have twofold moment, right, where I go. So I'm a Metal Gear Solid nut.
Oh, right? I love you. That's yeah, I mean? Awesome.
Like I'm just gonna grab something. You know, this is my greatest purchase of all time.
No.
Which is the Japanese box set, which has an incredible. I mean, there's loads in here. It has an incredible.
Oh my
but the
God.
best thing is, look, that's the baddie you fight, and it's like a model kit. It's not. It's already made inside. I could have.
Wow.
But I'm a massive Metal Gear Solid nut. You know, the minute I played MGS1 on the PlayStation, I was like, I found my home. You know, this is where I belong. So there's that, and I will buy and sell. I mean, it's different now because he doesn't do Metal Gear Solid anymore. Hideo Kojima doesn't do that anymore, but he does Death Stranding, which again. So what I would do each time there was a new Metal Gear Solid game and also Death Stranding was buy a console to play it intensely and then sell it. And then the next game come out, I'd have to either buy the same console again or buy if it was a new platform, a new console. You know, I loved Death Stranding, you know, so much so that during the first year of lockdown, I learned how to make a figure, and this was all clay sculpted and did all the
Wow.
details. And in fact, see this cable here, and I don't know if you've ever seen Death Stranding, but there's a baby in a bottle that
Yeah.
is like a psychic connection. This actually lights up. There's a battery pack in here. Unfortunately, it's run out of batteries, but I made every single detail on this because I love
That is
the game.
insane.
And so that's one aspect. But the other aspect was I was a gamer from the 80s, you know, Spectrum, Commodore, Sega Master System, and my favorite console of all time, which is the PC Engine, which is like a Japanese console. The game art is stunning. If you ever look at Bitmap Books, do a fantastic collection of the art. And they also do, I mean, it was the TurboGrafx in the US, which didn't do very well. But the art for the games was just stunning, right? And this book is full of hundreds of the game covers that were just mind-blowingly good. And so I was an 8-bit gamer. I was 8 and 16-bit. I mean, over here, you won't see, but over here, I have a Neo Geo arcade board that was converted into a like a proper console. So it's a conversion, and I've got one of those multi-carts in it, so I can play Neo Geo games, which was they were just phenomenal.
I love how nerdy you are.
I got into, you know, I always wanted to make games, and I think it moved from being people who could code in the bedroom to big teams of people who made games, like multi-teams, right? And I went, I'm never going to be able to do that. And then all of a sudden, I learned how to code my own games. And let's see if it still works, because unfortunately, it's no longer on here. But this was the first game. So that was the first piece of art I learned how to do after a while. Sorry, I'm just going to turn down the brightness. I'm just going to see if I can. That's it. I'll try it here. And it's all pixel art, right? And it had its own story. And you play the game, and it had like cutscenes and, you know, everything. And there's music my friend did. My friend did music, was just stunning. It's basically like an anime sort of game. And then when you start flying, it's a proper shoot 'em up. I can't play it because I'm staring at the wrong screen. You know, but there's like a bomb and all sorts of weapons and stuff. And it was just, that was where, you know, it's quite well received. It never made any money properly. You know, it was like I spent 4 years on it.
Wow.
And it was 2 years getting the first game out and then adapting it. And I couldn't get it to take.
You ever thought about putting Blam and Glam on a...
Yeah. I mean, this is one of the things I'd like to do. And the question would be is how we do it. Because I know someone who's really good at coding. And it depends on if we can get the right models. And we use models with the painted textures.
Okay.
It could be amazing, immersive game to play. I think it could be quite fun.
Yeah. I'd play the shit out of it. I'd buy it too. I would purchase it. I wouldn't just be one of those, like, I would be a supporter of that. And like, you know, you could even stay on the platform too. Cause like, I know gaming has a huge following on, you know, both board games and video games on Kickstarter are very, very, very popular.
But it's like, I'd love to do that. And I'd love to do an animation, but also, I mean, you've seen, we've got the figures.
Yeah.
You know, and this was the figure one, which is what I call a one back.
Which so I'm pretty sure you said sold out, and I'm seeing one right here. So what's up there, bud?
No. This is the one that sold out. So basically, it's here on issue because this sold out in issue 7.
Okay.
This was the last one left, which is the last of the one backs. And this is shipping out because same as the figure 2s. The figure 2s are here.
Those and are again, so nice, dude.
And they're 2 backs. You know, the new one is a 3 back, which is like the old Star Wars thing. You know, it was like 12 back was the first 1977 Kenner figures, wasn't it?
Yeah, you're talking nerdier than I know, bud. I'll take your word for it though. But the way you package those is so beautiful. Like the card stock and the plat. Like I mean, those look good, man.
Yeah, they feel proper, and it's this guy Retro Gimmick who's on Instagram.
Nice.
and Retro Gimmick does custom figures. It's basically an existing figure that he tweaks. And I got in touch after, I think it was Pat O'Malley, who does brilliant comics, and my brain always packs up. Oh God, I'm just getting old timers. Pinky is the character. Oh Christ! But Pat put me in touch with this person who makes figures, and then I got in touch with them and said, "Can you do the prototype one, and then we'll see how many we do." And it's been really cool. It's been a nice way of doing it. It is a little cost. It is a little expensive because it's they're doing it one by one.
Yeah,
you know, and so that way. But the print quality is fantastic. You know, I do the illustrations and send them the designs front and back. They build it. We chat about what the quality of it's going to be, and it's just so it's so that was a dream come true. You know, to have a figure.
I bet.
I'd like to do the 12-inch figures. So if you ever a fan of Ashley Wood, and there's a great question in here, which I'll touch on in a second. But Ashley Wood's was I love Ashley Wood's work, and I first saw it in Metal Gear Portable
Metal Gear
Ops,
comics, those are so good.
So Portable Ops was the cutscenes, and then I realized he'd done the comics itself, you know, afterwards. So I was like, fantastic! This is fantastic. But Ashley Wood does these 12-inch figures with amazing boxes, and that's actually how I started out. I always wanted, and I started to create boxes for people. There's one, I don't know if I can reach it, but some people were Ashley Wood fans, and I said, do you want me to paint you in the Ashley Wood style on the box, and you get this box as if you are a figure? There's no figure inside because I can't make that, but at least they got a package that could sit in amongst the rest of them. And so so that's what I'd like to do. I'd like to get like a proper 1/6 scale figure, you know, fully articulated, looks amazing. But yeah, the comics that inspired me, I mean, Ashley Wood's Metal Gear Solid series, which isn't just the comics, it's the Portable Ops and Peace Walker, the video games. The cutscenes on those are phenomenal. I love that. But also Bill Sienkiewicz. And especially when I saw Electra Assassin, I was like, this is me. And I'm reading Electra Assassin, and I'm reading the bits at the back. You know, there's like the readers write in and say about it, and how they're saying, what's he doing? He's crazy. This stuff is rubbish. And it's not. This stuff is phenomenal. Yeah. You know, and so I'm inspired by them. I'm nowhere near, you know, where they got to, but I'm inspired by them. You know, it's really cool in terms of their stuff. As I say, I always wanted to draw like Jim Lee. It just didn't happen. And this is where it was interesting, because when I was coming up with the idea for Blam and Glam, before I had the actual idea, I was talking to a friend, and I was saying I'm struggling because I'm trying to do this ink style, right, of comic, and I just can't get it to work. And he said, what are you doing? I said, what? He says, you have this painted style. Why don't you do and I was like, painted comic? Oh my God, that's amazing. Yeah. You know, and I went, brilliant. Okay, I'm going to do that. And then that unlocked it for me, because painting, I don't have to be so precise. You know, I can go over it and correct it and butcher it, and, you know, and then get it to make it work, you know. And I think you discover a painting as you go, whereas you've got to be very precise with your pencils and inks. Yeah. I mean, it's a very different medium for me. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And I'm glad I love Jim Lee's art, but I'm a big fan of your art too, Richard. And I love the painterly style, and I think it works so well. Lost in Comics, what's up? Thanks for tuning in. I'm gonna go ahead and let's bring this up so we can show off some of that artwork that we've been kind of talking about. So, you know, basically, you know, the what if you woke up and found demonic machines were everywhere and you had no idea who you were. And then, as you can see, guys can get all these back issues. You get them digitally, get them physically, you can get variants. All of this is available right now in the campaign that you can explore. And then here's the new cover for issue 7. And as we can see, like that, those techno demon tendrils have Glam wrapped up.
I love how she always has like these monstrous high heels no matter what she's doing. Like you got to fight if you're going to fight demons in the dystopian world, you got to look stylish, right? And you always do that. And Richard does these absolutely insane red variants for like every issue. He does these beautiful red variants that I mean that just really pop, and like the red kind of brings out like the sensuality, but it also brings out some of the inherent violence of the story and stuff too. It's just I love these variants, they're so good.
The red one I'll touch on after, so remind me, we'll come back to red.
Okay. And then this is artist you've been the Bang Bez, he's done a few covers for you now, right?
Yeah,
and I like the style, like kind of the anime, kind of an anime style.
It's funny when Bang Bez comics arrive, my wife goes, "They're so much better than yours," and I go, "I agree." The yellow covers are phenomenal. That was a dream come true having Bang Bez work on it. So it's fantastic.
And then as we talked about earlier, if you guys do like the not safe for work stuff, like that's available for you. They've got the gold flake cover here that you've been kind of tinkering with, which is cool. Also you get like when you back these, you get like a lot of cool stickers and bonus goodies, like that Richard always packs in. Some awesome stickers, awesome little mini prints and stuff like that. Let's see, and then we're kind of look at some stretch goals here. So yeah, we got like the original art drop, the signing. I love Richard's signature. Richard has like a really cool signature too. So like you want him to sign your comic, it doesn't look like a doctor scribbled on a prescription pad or something. Like it just
do you like it? Because I never know if I like it. So
I like it. I've always thought it looked cool. And then so we got you get the art print or the bookmark. I think everybody knows like I'm a sucker for a good bookmark. Coming out, we're getting close to this sticker. And then I missed that. So you got maybe if it goes crazy, maybe a new figure going on.
So that figure is a one-off. And anyone who's read issue 6 will know what the change is. Right, and I'm not going to spoil it because there'll be people who haven't read it yet. And so I'm going to do a one of a kind. I'll paint the change figure, and it will be packaged up in the box, and that goes to one person. No one else will ever get it.
Oh wow!
So that way, if we hit 20, one person within and doesn't matter if they've done a digital backing or a print backing, doesn't matter. Everyone's got a chance of winning that one-off figure, which will become collectible later on.
That's so cool. And then we talked about this too, the 3 winners if you break 25.
Yeah. If we hit 25, this is my favorite reward, I think. My favorite stretch goal. And that's if we hit 25, the last page of issue 8, which is the season finale, it's the season 1 finale, will have 3 people on it in the big finale cliffhanger reveal, right?
Nice.
And you don't just get you're on that page, you also get an A3, and you've seen these, you get the A3 Giclée print, which is an oversized print, so you can see all the detail that went into your drawing beyond what got compressed down for print. And then that way you've got a beautiful keepsake. And you, which
I own because I'm in issue 5 because I'm fucking special. But I can't the stuff, the little things that you do to give back to fans, because like a lot of people, when they spend the money to be in a comic, because that's a pretty common tier on Kickstarter, right? And so like you get the comic, you're in the comic, but like you don't usually get the original art, you don't usually get like a huge print of it to frame or display. So it's very cool, like just the kind of extra steps that you take to give back to your fans. And I mean, I think that's one of the reasons why too, is like more and more people are following you. It's just because like you could just tell you're very humble, even though sometimes I think you shouldn't be. Like I think you should be like, I'm fucking Richard Morgan. But I mean, and it's just like you're very grateful, you're very generous. And it's no matter how like each campaign gets like more successful, it's just like you can just tell you really appreciate it, and it's just and you like you mentioned earlier, like you're lucky, you can't believe it. It's like a dream come true kind of thing. And I like supporting people like that. I think a lot of other people do too. I think that's why more and more people are learning to flock to you. Lost in Comics says the art's beautiful. Totally agree. Tom wanted to know if you hand painted. It looks like you answered him in the chat. But yeah, he does digitally painting, but let's pop this off for, well, let's finish scrolling through here just real quick, and then we're going to show what's behind Richard.
Well, actually, what's interesting is because you'll come to it, but yeah, I mean that flick through, people can look at the first issue. It's not the full issue; they can see some of the pages. Although, actually, on YouTube, somebody has, I'm quite proud of it. Someone's done a video of reading through the digital first issue, and they've even voiced it, which is
really
just phenomenal. I'm it's out there. Search for it.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna have to look that up.
The only thing I realized recently was the PDFs for issue 1 went out with 2 pages missing.
Oh really?
So when he reads it, there's a jump, and luckily the 2 pages don't affect the story, but they are key. So I then messaged everyone who had backed ever the PDFs and said, I've just updated to the same location where they can get their files. They don't have to do anything else. They can get the new version down that's got that 2 pages. The pages were in the printed version, but for some reason they dropped off the PDF, and I've no idea why. But yeah.
Hey, I've seen that happen. I've seen publishers do stuff like that, man. So like shit happens sometimes. It's people forgive you. But yeah, and then so like as you guys see, you can get like these variants, like the packages, the print packages. There's a lot of cool stuff that you guys can get. And again, you can get the not safe for work versions of a lot of this, or you can just get the regular covers. All of them are beautiful. Here's like the digital package. If you guys want to catch up, you can also do that physically, which we see here. And these are great comics. They're a blast to read. They're a blast to just explore in the panels and just like look at Richard's art, see what he's capable of, and how the stories evolved from, going through 6 issues now, going on 7. It's very, very, very exciting. And then we got like, you can get some like cool oil painted stuff, which is just gnarly gorgeous. If you guys like cool art, if you like collecting art or paying for original art, like this is a campaign for you. You guys can like really go through and drop some bones and
like that one, cool shit. that one there, Blake, where it says sold out. So that's it here. Right. So this it instantly sold out. This and the next one's instantly sold out. But just holding this one a sec. Okay. This one is actually behind me, and it's been penciled onto the canvas ready. So this was one of 2 rewards where you could buy the original painting that would be done for issue 8. This would be the issue 8 standard cover. This is a digital mock-up, so that I go, right, this is what I'm going to do compositionally and tonally. Then I'm going to translate it to here, which is the pencil sketches here already. And the red version, which is the next one, will done the same. And that backer then gets the original painting, for them to keep, own, stick on the wall, sell, whatever they want. They just don't have the copyright. The copyright always stays with me. But they've got the original actual art that was physically painted as oil. And that's a new thing to do those covers.
Yeah, that's very cool. And then as we talked about, and we showed off a little bit earlier, like you guys can get these figures, the new figure, not the 1 and 2, but so you get the new the new red figure, which is just so cool. I still remember when you came out and you were just kind of like, what would you guys think of a Blam and Glam action figure? And everybody started freaking out. Everybody was like, oh my God, yeah, do it. And then when you started, like when you got like the mock-ups and you made posts about it. And then when you like actually made, like put some of them into production and like started offering them in the campaigns, and just like to kind of watch that idea take off was really cool. Then you guys can also, you get some sexy t-shirts. You can take the style right off the page and put it right on your body and wear it out into public or to your favorite club or to fucking McDonald's. You wear it wherever you want. Really, it's your shirt when you buy it. But there's like some cool t-shirts. And like I said, all of this stuff, like Richard nerds out on all this shit, like the printings and stuff for the shirts. Like he uses good quality fabric. He make, he puts out good product that's going to last. You're not going to put it in the washer. It's not going to fall apart. Like he's going to take care of you if you invest into, you know, his products and his art and his absolutely amazing comic. And then, like I said, yeah, these figures have been selling out. So like these action figures move, and they're very, very limited. So, you know, you got a few days left. You can snag this one. And I'd really think about it.
And that one, and that one just there, that £200 one, that's the blank figure that gets sent to me. I do the painting.
Oh, and you paint
and then
it.
I seal it up properly, so that way I paint more detail on it. The standard one is done by Retro Gimmick, and it's not standard's a horrible word because I love his style of doing the figures. But
Yeah.
you can get the standard one, or you can get one painted by me, and these are limited numbers. And
That's
I always
cool.
paint the extra detail on that, and then we number these ones as well. So these ones are limited. It's got little numbers to get stuck on it, and then they're put not in these cases, but these are the flimsy ones just to help protect during shipping.
Okay.
Those ones, they're painted by me, go in those acrylic cases, the proper display ones.
Oh, nice.
So they're quite, you know, it's an all round beautiful package, I think.
Yeah, it's an actual work of art. Like it's and you treat it as such, which as you should, man. Like the things that happen, Richard, when you touch the page, or when you like, you know, grace the page with the paint, or even when you're doing it digitally for like the interiors and stuff, man, it's just like, it's really mind-boggling what you do. And it's cool because like you don't see comic book interiors like this right now. There's you know, there's like the water, you know, some people do like the watercolor painterly styles and stuff, but I mean, you're a little more abstract. I like how I like how you give details and take them away, how you kind of like strategically decide on like how much attention in the images to, or what to draw focus to. I think it's just, I don't know. I think it's really smart. You're really good at making your audience like focus on certain elements, and how to kind of guide them through the pages, which is cool. And then here we see like a video of how like the comics get packaged and shipped. And so like, they're going to show up safe. They're going to, you know, they're going to cross the borders and be in good condition when they get to you. I think that this is a nice little smart thing to include, because if people have watched my show for a while, like we beg, like, please use these Gemini mailers or something equivalent, you know, because it's just like, it's bad things can happen when you don't. And then here's some other shows that have had Richard on. Pink Buzz, some good people. House of Nerds show, they have a cool platform. They did his launch party for the last campaign. Very cool that you give these, you know, always as press, I always appreciate it when you guys shout out press and give us, you know, a little bit of attention. It's always nice to see. But yeah, so that's the campaign. And then now we can see it a little better. As you can see behind Richard, that's the piece he's working on, the full size, which is, it's just going to be absolutely amazing. And then I think I'm getting you work, Richard. I got Mick Byers in here saying you need to do a cover for him.
That sounds cool. I'm up for that.
Both of you guys are nerdy, pervy, little wonderful people. But you both like exploring the human bodies with or without clothes on. Mick likes drawing sexy alien bodies too. So like,
oh, cool.
You guys, but yeah, I would be all about seeing Richard and you guys and you team up, Mick. That'd be fucking sick.
Let's make it happen. Connect on. So I'm lucky it's the same name on here. It's Richard A. Morgan on Instagram.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you got me on Kickstarter. I just want to quickly say, because you mentioned about covers. Before I do that, though, I got this really cool from these people. Wham!
You got your Wham stand. Yeah,
got my Wham stand, which is so cool because it's like a 3D printed stand, and then they did the logo for me, and it just magnetically clips on. But it means I can display some of. It means I can display some of my characters, you know, some of my comics.
Yeah.
But it's funny because the standard cover was like, "Hey, I'm doing the cover," and then you talked about the red ones, and the red ones are always the variant by me. So this was the variant for 5. Which was a really cool collaboration with a lady on Kickstarter on Instagram who'd cosplayed my character originally, and so I was like, wow, you know, I was blown away by it. So for this one, I said, look, do you mind if I take it? It was an image she had that wasn't a cosplay. It wasn't anything at all. It was, she does really cool art. She does really cool posts. And I said, do you mind if I base a painting on that? And of course I'll pay you. And I did. And then also she got copies of the comic. And at one point she did a post when the comics arrived of her in cosplay holding the comic,
Nice.
wearing the t-shirt with her in cosplay on the t-shirt, holding the comic with her. So it was so meta, it was unbelievable. But the red has been there since the get-go. I talk about different things I put into the story. The red is a certain side to glam, which is why that started to come to fruition in 6. And we can't spoil it. And so
yeah,
it was,
yeah, because you've shown me
alluding,
a new page recently that I can't talk
Yeah.
about either.
but that's pretty close to what was at the end of 6 anyway.
Mhm.
So the good thing is that reveal, the reason why there's a red has been there since the beginning. You know,
Nice.
Bang Bears will always do the yellow covers, and basically I assign a different color. So I do standard, which can be any color. Red is the variant. Yellow is Bang Bears variant. And then on issue 8, my
got a
mind
purple,
is
yeah.
blown. We've got a Robert Semelin who did Carly, which is just the best, one of the best comics I've ever read.
It's a great fucking graphic novel,
Yeah.
and you can't buy it right now, and it's aggravating. It aggravates the shit out of
Why
me.
can't
Like,
you get it?
it's sold
Are they
out.
sold out?
It's sold out. Yes, you can get it if you want to pay for it. But it's I want that hardcover so bad. I read it digitally because someone like recommended it, and I read it. I rented it on
just
Hoopla.
brilliant.
Insane, man. Like the vehicles, the
it's-
helicopters. Oh my
Yeah.
god, just
It's
awesome.
it's from, the writing is phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so Daniel Freeman did an incredible job of the writing. Robert Semelin did a fantastic job of the comic, and it's basic. It's like watching a western. It's like watching Once Upon a Time in the West. It's just so cinematic from a book, and we managed to get Robert Semelin to do the issue 8 and issue 8 variant cover.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got to find this other thing. Hang on, bear me a sec, because it's going to drive. There we go. Pop Scars. Right, my brain is terrible.
Oh, nice.
Right, so Pop Scars is by Pat O'Malley, which is fantastic.
It's a great book. Yeah, it's a cool book.
And this is the Robert Semelin CGI cover, right? And he's done one of those for me for Blam and Glam.
And guess what? I've got to see it, and it's fucking gorgeous.
And you got to see it. And if you notice, like the front covers are always her looking back at you.
Yeah.
So we did the same thing. I went, let's do the same thing. So the Blam and Glam one is following the same sort of style. It is in the CGI style, so I did want something different, which is quite cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, Robert's work is phenomenal.
Yeah, he's insane. What's up, John? Thanks for tuning in. Tim or Tom wants to know what your confidence level is like going from like the first Kickstarter campaign to now, and like how I'm kind of interested in that too, right? Like, do you still get nervous? Do you still get those like Kickstarter jitters, like even after all the successful campaigns and stuff, or has that calmed down at all?
I get two kinds of jitters. One is the painting the comic jitters, right? And I'll be laying out a page, and then I'm just not happy when I start painting it, and I'll just paint all over and then go again.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I'll struggle with a page, and I've just got to move on to another page and come back to it, and sometimes it can feel immovable. The confidence has gone up. I now know, like on the new 1/7, I've moved away from doing black and white sort of line basis for structures. I'm now blocking in with solid colors to get a tone and a feel, and then going straight into painting. I still work out basic construction, but I go straight into tones and to get a feel for light form, and then I'll work over it. So that confidence has grown. But like the page I'm on at the moment, there's certain scenes, and I go, right, I've got to get my head in the game. And I struggle with those, but when I push through, they're worth it. I think, hopefully, anyway. But the other one I struggle with is actually oil paintings, right?
Okay.
Now, when I do them, and there's video time lapses of me on Instagram doing it, and when I paint this one, I'm going to film it and put it on YouTube as a live session. I won't do it in one session. I'll probably have to do it in 2 sessions. But at first, I'm afraid of doing it, right? And then all of a sudden I go, right, I'm just going to have to do it. And then I get started. And then all of a sudden I find the confidence and I make it happen. And the first version is rough. I always say, squint your eyes and does it feel right? And yes. And then when it's dried a little bit, because it's oil, not completely, when it's dried a bit, I can then go in and paint that extra stuff to really refine it.
Oh, wow.
But sometimes I'll go, God, I can't start it. I'm afraid of the canvas. But when I get going, I then go, what am I doing? I love this and I enjoy it. So when I've done the oil painted covers, I had a lot of fun with those, which is where we take a blank cover and I'll do a pencil sketch and then do a real oil painting on one of these, which is one of the rewards. People get a real oil painting on an actual comic cover. And then I need to do this myself, but I'd love to start getting some
get them slabbed. Yeah.
And I'm waiting for the day someone says I've got an oil painted and I've slabbed it, which would just be mind blowing. But yeah, we'll have to see.
That's one thing I haven't gotten into yet. I mean, I think they look cool. I just haven't bought anything slabbed or had anything slabbed. And I've got like the Miles Morales, the Ultimate Fallout. What is it? Ultimate Fallout 4 or whatever his first, like I've got some stuff I could dig out and get slabbed, but I just haven't got into it. Some people really are, love them. And I get why they're good, but do you know how that kind of works? Like for non-direct market stuff for kicks, like if someone got one of your oil covers slabbed, like I mean, obviously they grade it the same, but like what does it mean to do that?
Because there's 2 types. There's actually 3 types. So the blue one is just it's unsigned and they do it. If I do it or if I sign it, so if it's like an oil painting or a drawing one and I sign it in front of a CGC person, or if I do it as I'm the artist, I can register and do it and send it off myself to be done. Okay. They can get the gold one, which says it's verified. But if you get one that's signed and it's not verified, they stick it in a green thing, which isn't the best color. But it's like, I've never actually got them done. I just saw this at one of the last comic conventions, and I've always been a fan of this cover. And I went, you know what? It's quite a good way for me to get that one because I'm not going to read it. So I'm just going to have it there. And
that's a Mayhew variant, isn't it? Is that?
I think so. Yeah, Mayhew. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mike Mayhew studio.
Yeah, he's good. He's good.
And I'd like to get one of each of my comics done eventually and put them on the walls.
Oh yeah.
So I've got a collection, but then get some more done so that people could buy that as a reward.
Do it as like add-ons and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, but it just feels like I've got to do it in advance. Do you know what I mean? Because it takes ages to send it off. It's then going to be done. And
it takes a long, like almost like a year, I think sometimes, especially with how like busy CGC is now. Yeah, it's just like your stuff's gone for like months and months and months and months, and then you get like an email saying it's almost ready, and then months and months go by, and then you get another email, and then it finally. It's everybody I know that does it like sends their. My buddy has like a huge Daredevil collection, and he sent off. He has like every printed issue of Daredevil ever made. He has like from one to now, yeah, and and he got some stuff CGC'd, and he's the one who told me, he was like, man, he's like I know I'm gonna get them back because they're a reliable company, but he's like it's been a very, very long time. I would like to call out Mick too, by the way, because Mick says he only sends me folded comics, and Mick's never sent me shit other than email. Like he sent me some PDFs which you can't fold. but yeah, so and I actually love Mick's art. So if Mick wants to like send me stuff and fold it into little tiny pieces, I'd still love to have it. So send me your damaged goods, Mick, and I will proudly display them. Mick is awesome. People. Charlie Stickney, who was in here earlier, like he introduced me to Mick. Mick's worked with Charlie a couple times, and Mick does some cool like some cool comics, and he's doing a lot of variants for people these days. So yeah, you guys should definitely team up. You should maybe for season 2 something could happen with you guys, because his style, his pinup style, and whether it's safe for work or not safe for work, I think you'd vibe with it, Richard. He's pretty good, and same with you, Mick. Like I feel like you'd vibe with. I feel like you guys would just vibe together. You're good people.
That sounds so cool. Well, yeah, this definitely.
If you can put up with Mick, if you can put up with him, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I love Mick. He's hilarious. But yeah, it's just I love this campaign, man, and I love Blam and Glam. Because it reminds me of, and I've compared it to Aeon Flux, right, a couple times, and
oh wow,
I remember seeing that as a kid and being like,
yeah.
what the fuck am I watching?
Yeah.
But it was so weird, right? And I didn't always get it, but like I always watched it because like it was like hypnotizing almost. Like it was weird and sexy and I just you just couldn't look away. And then as I got older, I was like, man, like they were doing like some next level shit at MTV, right? And I wish they'd come out with a Blu-ray set. I really wish they would like remaster it and re-release it. Yeah. I was hoping they'd do it when Charlize did the movie, like re-release the original animated series somehow. But I'm going to keep dreaming. But you remind me of that, right? Because like you said, you plant these seeds. You kind of take your audience for a ride, and you kind of like to jostle them and confuse them a little bit and keep them on edge. And it reminds me of watching those Aeon Flux episodes like late at night when I was a kid. Like, it also was like those. I was like, man, I don't feel like, because I was young, I was a lot younger then, and I was like, I feel like I shouldn't be watching a cartoon like this, or like if someone like if I get caught, am I going to get in trouble, right? And I get that feeling sometimes reading Blam and Glam. I'm just like, oh, is someone going to catch me reading this? Am I going to get in trouble? Then I'm like, no, you're fucking 37 years old, you weirdo. Like no one gives a shit what you read. But yeah,
the weirdest, I mean the Aeon Flux, I'm totally with you. The cartoon was phenomenal, and I managed to buy a DVD the other day. Yeah, I do wish I had a Blu-ray. And I need to join K Chung's. I've missed his first name. Peter Chung's Patreon, because there's a chance to buy some of the cells. I'd love to.
Oh no way!
Yeah. So, but it's a very high tier, and I to be honest, if I could bite the bullet, I'll be able to do it. I'll be able to go for it. But I mean, that stuff was phenomenal. Yeah, but I loved that. I loved that. I've lost the bit I was going to go to, so my brain's backed up.
It's cool. You're trying to draw at the same time. I get it. No worries.
Well, I've been
already sketching. Like that's just, how do you do that so fast? It's crazy.
And I'm just going to do a little bit of inking on that, so that way yeah. But I loved Aeon Flux, that thing. Oh yeah, that's what I was going to say. Is my day job is advertising, and so when I started doing stuff on Kickstarter, and people like on Instagram, people like, hey, I saw your stuff on Instagram, and it's sort of like if you're in the kitchen having a cup of tea, like as you're heading towards your desk, and I was like, is this the conversation I could have in work right now? You saw the art.
Yeah,
you saw stuff, but there are people who talk about it, which is cool. I've got people I work with and they collect it as well. But yeah, it's that point you made right at the beginning, which is this too adult? And you go, actually, it's just what she's wearing, or somebody say what she's not wearing.
Yeah.
But that's why I sort of went from issue 1, which was just if you were caught in the middle of the pandemic with just wearing this, how vulnerable would you be? Do you know what I mean? And then later, and there's a reason why, and as you see in this issue, why she can go from this outfit to this outfit,
Yeah.
which I thought was, again, is a clue about the character. So,
Yeah.
there's all sorts of things that are peppered from the beginning. But yeah, that she looks that way.
And I think it gives her agency too, though, because it's like it gives her an element of pride and cockiness, right? So to say, because it's like, she's even though she doesn't necessarily know who she is all the time, she's unafraid of like exposing herself in more than one way. And one of those is like through revealing clothing, so there's some symbols and some elements of like her character and reasons behind the revealing clothing and stuff. And that's why I really encourage people to like give this comic a shot. Cause like Richard is on some next level shit, and it's not just boobs and ass. They're there and they're nice, but there's a lot of elements behind it. There's a lot of great story beats, and Blam is, Blam is a cool character too, but Glam is just fun and exciting, and it's her story, or lack thereof, is like, none of us know her story initially, and like we get glimpses of it as the issues carry on. Like I said, it's just, there's not a lot out there on the shelves that are doing what you're doing, Richard, and it's cool to see you taking risks and having them pay off, and I love that your artwork is getting seen by more and more people, and people are responding to it in good ways. Like I said, I just think you deserve it. You're good. You're a good dude.
Mate, I'm blown away by the comments. Thank you for that. It's just, I am genuinely, like, I just amazed people write it and they read it and they enjoy it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And want to come along for the ride. It's crazy.
Have you thought about pitching it, or have you tried pitching it around? Or because we when you had your blip earlier and vanished, it kind of popped up in the chat, and I was rambling. But I was like, have you thought about trying to find a publisher for this, or are you more interested in keeping it yours and kind of staying where you're at right now?
I'd thought about it, and the thing I find is there's this unknown grey area with publishing, which what I mean is, I think it's good. There's like ways publishers can get work out there. I think because the Kickstarter is working for me on my terms, I quite appreciate it. The thing I would look into maybe later is, like, when the first 8 issues when season 1 is complete, there's calls for, should I do a collected edition, and so I'll do like a trade paperback, or even I'd love to do an oversized hardback. It was very expensive at the moment. Yeah. An oversized version, so the pages are nice and big. But if, for example, like if I could get Image interested in distributing the trade paperback, that would be a way to tap into a wider audience. It could be a good thing to do. I just don't know at the moment. I think it's found its audience right now, and I don't know how much wider it could go in terms of, do you know what I mean, if it did explode out.
I gotcha.
I love the stuff that Laura Vecchio, I'm gonna have said her name wrong, I'm really sorry, with Lovesick.
Oh yeah,
just brilliant. Do you know what I mean? And I think she's tapped into an amazing audience, and I think so many people love it. I mean, that'd be phenomenal to get that sort of. But I don't think this is like that.
Okay.
But yeah, but it's interesting. We'll see. You never know.
Yeah.
Because I'd also like to do an animation, and that might be either a future Kickstarter, because part of my work is doing films as well. And so doing an animation could be on the cards. It could be quite cool, do a pilot and see what happens.
Yeah, like, and maybe what happened like with Lackadaisy recently, like that huge webcomic made $2 million on BackerKit to do after they made a pilot to do more episodes. So like, maybe the Blam and Glam $1 million campaign is yet to happen.
Yeah, it might do. We'd have to, if I could pull it off in a year, maybe. Do you know what I mean? The biggest thing we
Mhm.
have here is like taxes.
Yeah.
You know, because if the money goes on production and you don't complete it within a year, they'll tax whatever's left,
Oh, okay.
and so you can't tie it up for more than a year. You know, you either have to roll it out in stages. So that's the only. But if it's something we could do as a short piece in that time, it'd be worth doing. And I'll probably kickstart at the beginning of a tax year, which is April for us in
Okay.
the UK. But it's funny you're talking about Blam. So yeah, it's like with the title, it's Blam and Glam. I mean, even the title is purposely designed in this weird way. Somebody will look at it and they'll go, Blam and Wolog, but not
Blam,
realize
Blam and Wog.
Wolg, but but even that is even that in the logo is something that's been there since the get-go,
Mhm.
which is it's related to her. But in terms of Blam, I was talking to the Pink Buzz Boys
Mhm.
when when we was doing the launch. We was talking about Blam Glam, and this and Joe Pocket was saying, I really love your ink stuff, and I've not got confidence with my ink stuff. And he said maybe consider doing a one shot. And I thought actually that could be really cool. And maybe the one shot is a black and white story about Blam, because we don't know Blam's backstory. We
Hmm.
just know there's this gun that she talks to that doesn't work for anyone else. They talk to this gun and he just goes blah blah. Whereas she talks to it and she understands what he's saying when he says
Yeah.
blah blah. But also she has a way, and I don't know if you've spotted how she gets in. He's a bit like a Judge Dredd gun in that he's got different ammo rounds in. But you can't say to him, grenade doesn't work. He's broken. Something's wrong with him, and the one shot might be the story as to why, or it might be the story as to how he got in the hands of
Ooh.
the characters. But if for people reading the comic, there's a way she gets him to change ammo types. And I'm not going to spoil it, but it's not saying the type she wants. She does something else, and then he kicks in and he goes grenade, or armor piercing. And when you read, I thought it was quite an interesting take to have what people consider to be a malfunctioning gun, or a sentient malfunctioning gun, but somebody does understand.
Yeah.
And there's a thing in 7 coming about the role that Blam has. So there's 7 starts to unlock lots more answers, which is quite an exciting issue to get out. There won't be so much action. There'll be pieces in it, but
Mhm.
there's quite a lot of like that's revealed and this is revealed and that's scratched more on the surface, and that's what I think is quite exciting. That's why I can't wait to get 7 out.
Nice.
But yeah, but
I
there's
can't wait. I
things.
can't wait. You hurry up, Richard. Like you're getting like I want to know the secrets. But I like what you're saying about Blam and their relationship, and just like in the logo, how there's like balance and offset in the Blam and Glam logo, right? And there's balance and offset in the Blam and Glam relationship, like on the page, and they're both a little broken. They're both very deadly, and they're both very efficient when they need to be. But it's like getting there is kind of the trip, and it doesn't, getting from point A to point B with them isn't always like the straight line, right? Like sometimes you got to like, to get from A to B to C, you got to kind of maneuver around some barriers and some obstacles, and how you do that and weave their story together and weave their actions together is again, like, to shout out to your storytelling and how you structure these comics. It's always fun. It's always fun to see. Like you have so many little Easter eggs and notions and stuff that you've hidden and hints that you've sprinkled out, like little breadcrumbs for us to pick up. And it's just like, it's cool what you're doing, bud.
I'm just looking for issue 5 at the moment because there's something in 5 which not everyone found. Sorry, I've got these are certain covers, but not all of them. 4, 5. I haven't got a 5 to hand, but there's a page in 5 where there is an Easter egg, which some people found in time and used it to apply for. Hang on, oh, that's a 6. Oh, I can't find it. Where's the 5s? Hang on, I must have a 5 in here somewhere. They're in all those boxes. That's the problem. Hang on a sec. There's.
Yeah, I'm the worst
Yes.
at finding Easter eggs. Like I'll admit that. Like the people that find stuff in the movie, like, and I'm a pretty careful viewer, like, and a careful reader. Like I review comics, and I still like I miss so much. I miss so many things like that. I wish I had a better mind for picking out those tidbits.
So there's a sequence in 5. Hopefully this. I'm just going to cover up most of it. There's a sequence in 5, and there's an Easter egg there, which is then here. I can't do it. See it?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah. And people scanned that QR code, and it took him to a website. And on that website was something they could apply for.
Oh.
And they did, and now it's now the lines are closed on that. The application, the applications are closed. Don't call if you're watching on. If you're watching on streaming, don't call the number. But they're going to get sent out. Those people who applied are going to get sent out a nice little package. Right,
nice.
Which is connected to what that page is all about. So if you've got issue 5, scan the QR code, see what the page is about, see what it tells you, which means that you land one side or the other in the story with the demons. Like there's different people in the comics.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're in the comic, but you're in the comic on one side of the demons, and there's other people on the comic on the other side of the demons.
I remember when you asked me that too, and I was like, that was a hard decision to make. I was like, do I want to be like on the bad side or the good side? And the good side is like the being tortured and manipulated side. I told this, I was talking about this the other night with people about like when you gave me the option to be in the comic and how weird it was. Like when you had me like take a few selfies and like, and I was like, when you're like taking a selfie and you're like kind of trying to look uncomfortable and like look, and it's like you take this like weird pic that like I normally wouldn't take, and that was just fun. And then it's just like to take that, to send you those pictures and then see the page when it was like finished. That was crazy, man.
It's funny because like some of the Kickstarter rewards are to be in the comic, and that's been in this since issue 2. Issue 2 was a couple of glimpses on a board, and issue 3 was some people who they'd been taken over by the demons, and so we revealed something about the demons and something about humans, how they relate to each other. Issue 3, sorry, was that. Issue 4 was the first time I said, do people want to be resistance fighters? And they're like, yeah. And then I did sequence, and it wasn't much of an action sequence. It was more of a, here's the group of people, and you were discovering something about these characters. And it wasn't enough for me. On that, I thought if I want, if I said you can be a resistance fighter, I really need a bit of action. So I then gave people the chance to come back in issue 6 and have a moment where they die, as long as they just bought the regular issue. They didn't have to buy the reward again. They just had to buy a regular copy of the comic.
Okay.
Because at least that covers the postage when I send out the really nice print and I paint them in. But one of my favorite moments was one of the characters in 4 and 6, who's a resistance fighter, is I wrote to everyone and said, I need a picture of you standing up posing, right? And he wrote back and he said, I've got no problem doing the poses, but I can't actually stand up. I'm in a wheelchair, right? And my brain went, right. And I wrote back and I said, look, actually, this is really cool. I think there's 2 options here. One, the first is I'll paint you any way you like. If you want to be standing, if you want to be standing, I can paint you standing. But if you want to be in the chair, I'm going to turn your chair into an all-terrain chair, and we're fully. And he's like, I'm in, right? And I was like, fantastic, because we did that in issue 4, and in issue 6 is a big payoff action sequence with him.
Yeah.
And it's like it come from someone saying, I'm really sorry, but I'm this, and it's not nothing to be sorry about.
Mhm.
I'm like, oh, I want to paint you how you want to be represented in the comic. And he was like, I want to be in the chair, and the all-terrain chair sounds amazing.
That's so
And
cool.
I think it's a fun piece, when we do it. So yeah, so I think that was one of the proudest moments, was how we reflect people who are part of who want to be part of the comic, to be part of the comic that
Yeah.
represents them. There was another guy in issue 5. Somebody else reached out and said, I've always wanted my wife in a comic. Could she be? He reached out in issue 4. Can I want my wife in the comic? Could she be a sexy resistance fighter? And I said, to be honest, it's not very sexy, that role, but there's an opportunity in issue 5. And then I wrote a couple of pages around that in issue 5, which is why there's an additional character. And it was quite a nice piece to do, so we did it instead for issue 5. So I think that sometimes there's a great moment. Look, if you want to be in it and you want to try something interesting, reach out to me and I'll say it wouldn't be this, but there's an opportunity to do this, and then I think it's quite fun.
That's so cool, man. Again, yet again, there's the way that you treat your fans and supporters. You just kind of go the extra mile for us, man, and it's nice. It's nice that, like, the more like famous you get, and but one of those days when you hit like Mr. Big Time and don't have time for people like Blake's Buzz or stuff anymore.
No, never. No. I'll be like, like, you were there. You helped me get where we got to. It's like people say, like Keanu Reeves, like, it's hard work got him where he is, but at the same time, he appreciates every single thing that goes into where he got to. It's like when you see him, he's on the set, and the whole crew are carting the gear up the hill, and he's like, "Yep, give me some bits, I'm carrying."
Mhm.
He's not even give me some bits. He grabs some bits and he takes them. And it's like that. It's you can't leave people behind. Do you know what I mean? People have been on this journey with you. It's like,
Nice.
That's what's so crucial. Sorry, I'm focusing. I'm also doing a little bit of inking as we go.
That's awesome. I love how you can like make the light, like you make like the leather or latex, or like how you make that like shine and look real like all the time. Like that stuff trips me out.
I think that's the bit. It's funny that I really love drawing, because it catches the light in ways other materials don't. And I think it adds something to it. Everything else, because this could easily be an everyday person wearing everyday clothes. Like The Last of Us, which is amazing, but they're in that sort of thing. I wanted this to be different. I wanted this to be slightly heightened. So it is different. Why is it like that? I mean, a lot of it is, I've got to admit, it's like probably like the first time I saw the Goblin Queen in X-Men.
Yeah,
like, you are sexy as fuck,
Madeline. Yeah.
Madeline Pryor. Yeah, and let's be clear, Scott is a douche. I'm really sorry. Scott is a total douche.
Yeah, I don't think anybody who is a fan of Madeline Pryor can really like Scott. Yeah, because of all that Claremont drama that he made. I think the same thing of like Emma Frost too, and like what she's become too. Like, she's always very, very stylish and dressed like very provocatively, whether she's in battle or meeting at the Hellfire Club or whatever, and it's just like that stylish sexiness, tying that into the world of mutants, and it's I've always appreciated that. And I like that you carried that trend, but on the indie comic side, and you're kind of making your own way, paving your own path, like from the greats that came before you. And, you taking nods and elements from them, but all, making it in the end, it's Richard Morgan's, and it's cool. Like, I love your style, man. Is when you paint, like, when you do your digital art, or do you have like one of those like computer setups with the big screen, or are you on an iPad?
No.
Like, how you...
So because I've got a Wacom and I use Photoshop, but when I was first starting to learn to paint, digitally, I was using that, and it's so slow.
Oh,
Whereas
really?
actually, mine is apart from this is one of those working areas. That's the iPad. It's the best thing for me
Okay.
because on the train back, I will be painting. You know, and what's funny is when I was first doing painting on the iPad, it wasn't for the comic character. It was portraits of people. And on the train, I'm just going to see if I can find the right portraits. On the train, as I got off and was walking to work, so I'd spent like an hour painting on the train, and I walk on like 10 minutes to get the next train. And I passed this one person. Where are you? I passed this one person who's sitting in a window of this shop. It makes sense in a second when I find her. Here we go. So she was sitting in the window of this shop, and she's a courier, and the window said we deliver. And I thought, wow, it's a really cool opportunity. So I was walking past her, and I said, hi, I'm sorry, I do digital painting. Here's my business card. It's got like my Instagram account on it. Do you mind if I take a photo and I'll do a digital painting free of charge? You can use it however you want. And she said, sure, why not? So I did it. A couple of weeks later, I bumped across her again, and I said, here you are. Here's the painting. What do you think? And gave her a print of it, and she loved it. A couple of weeks after that, I passed another guy sitting at the same window. Yeah. And I say to him, hey, and he says, I know you are. And so I did his one as well. And but the tool just means that I can do my painting on here. So when I'm doing pages, I'm just going to find one of the covers that you've seen recently. What's great about it is it stores a time lapse. And I sometimes got reference. You know, the reference does help.
Oh, wow.
You know, and so you can just go through the stages of, you know, and you see the amount of times I'm just not happy with the faces, and I go again and again and again, you know, and it just means that you can see there just was how it started rough, and then how I paint over or reposition, and I just to get to the face I was finally happy with.
That's so
You know,
cool.
that's what's cool about this process. And so yes, why, you know, the company can speak. If I was for oils and acrylics dry, I could only do it here, as opposed to on the go. You know, what I love is I might have 10 minutes on a train somewhere, or 10 minutes in between a meeting, and I could quickly do some stuff.
Nice.
And
so being digital like helps the productivity, keeps you mobile, and you can kind of practice.
Yeah,
that's cool, man.
But it means I could learn to paint lots and lots and lots of portraits very quickly. Whereas if I did it in oils, you do one maybe a week. You know, I was doing it every day, and I'd do a different portrait. You know, there was one of you.
Yeah, you did one of me. You did one of my. Man, Richard, everybody like made my whole family cry. Like he painted my dog April when she passed, and like I woke up one day to this picture in my inbox, and it was April and painted, and like, oh my God. And then I went and like I showed my dad and my mom and my sister, and like everybody fucking lost it, like in a good way, right? But it was just like it just hit real hard, and it was very cool. And like it's nice to have her, like, I don't know, you caught a good moment of her, and like it's a very nice reminder to have that. And yeah, like painting me was cool too. Like it was cool, like having you paint my picture. But yeah, like the dog deal, man, and like and like no one could believe that either. Like they were like, some some like a famous artist just drew your dog, and I was like, yeah,
Famous.
the most famous artist drew. But they were like, oh my god, dude, you're like you're blowing up if like artists are just. And I was like, yeah, totally right, but no, it's that was like my family will know you and remember you forever, like because of that. Like that was a big deal. Like that was a huge deal for me. But yeah, it's like my dad. You really got my dad. Like you like my dad like knows your name and will love you forever. And he's never read one of your comics because he doesn't. My dad doesn't.
Yeah,
he doesn't read. But yeah, it's that was crazy, man.
Oh, brilliant. I mean, as long as it's a nice memory, do you know what I mean? That's
yeah,
the key thing.
yeah. No, like it was a good cry. It was like a nice cry, and that was like a good picture of her, like where she was still like, you know, we didn't have, she was still playful and you know herself right before her like back leg quit working and all that shit happened. But yeah, it was I've no one's ever really done anything like that for me, man. And it was crazy. You know, I'm not used to that. And it's, you know, even the more because I know I help you guys out too sometimes. Like I know, you know, doing the reviews and stuff, you know, and it's like, but it's just it's you know, it's just different, you know, and I'm not used to that. I'm not, like I told my boss the other day at Metal Ninja Studios, my boss Joel, and he was like, you know, he was telling me like what he thought about what some of the stuff I was doing, you know, and he was just kind of like telling me he believes in me, and I was like, you're fucking weird, dude. I was like, people don't tell me they believe in me. I was like, stop, like that doesn't make sense, you know. Like I was like, can you like give me a toxic work environment that I'm used to? And you know, it's just like, and I'm not trying to say like I have this terrible life that I've been like beaten to a pulp, right? And that's what I expect. It's just like I'm also a realist, right? And I have a good support network, but when people you don't know very well like come out and show support, which this community has done for me a couple times now, and like it's just you really realize how lucky you are and how blessed you are and how great comic books are. Like there's a magic in comic books.
It's a connection, isn't it? It's a thing we can reach out and engage
yeah
with, you know. Otherwise you know, a lot of us aren't having the conversations. But I think it's also a testament, as you say, you know, the people appreciate what you're doing and never think, you know, it's the stuff you're doing is phenomenal. You know,
Thank you.
The stuff you're doing, the stuff Pink Buzz and stuff House of Nerd are doing, you know, all the people who are doing these channels is phenomenal because you're putting us in touch with other people. Like, you know, like here with Mick. You know, I don't know who Mick is, but now I'm going to reach out and start looking at the work, and I'm probably going to be like, how have I never seen Mick's work before? You know, and I think this is the power you have. But you do, you know, you do engage and you do back, you know, like when you said, I remember when we first were messaging and you said, you know, I backed your Kickstarter. I think we were starting talking around Kickstarter 2, I think.
Yeah, because I didn't know about the art book. I hopped on it at issue 1, so I guess I was sort of there I was almost there at the beginning.
No, you were definitely at the beginning, because before then there was no story, right? So you're definitely there at the beginning. But I remember you were reaching out around issue 2, and I was like, oh, this guy has got his, you know, he's got his reviewing channel, and he's buying my comic. You know, that's like phenomenal. You know, I'm like, wow. And I was impressed. You know, it's like, you know, and I know, you know, Buzz do the same at House of Nerd. They get involved with the Kickstarter and they back and they go right, and because they want it in their hands, and that's what I love about it. It's brilliant.
That's brilliant. It costs us money. No, I'm kidding. It's worth it. It's I love it, but yeah, it's it gets dangerous sometimes, you know, because it's just like, the more, it's the more and more, I mean, it's any comic books out there, like any, like I used to buy a ton of Marvel omnibuses. You can see some of them behind me, and like, like guess what, like buying 70, 100 and $100 books gets fucking expensive, like when you start meeting like all these indie guys and guys, women in between, whatever you want to identify, like when you start meeting these diverse creators doing crowdfunding stuff, and you want to support everybody, like it gets like it gets to be a lot sometimes. And then luckily, you can do like the digital stuff now, and like kind of you can adjust the tier, and like you can spread the love out a little bit more. But yeah, it just it got a little crazy for a while, just because it was like I felt like I'd feel like super guilty if I like had someone on my show and like didn't back their comment, because I was like, how can I?
You can't back them all. You can't back them all.
Yeah, oh, I know that now. Believe me, like when I'm like, I know, but like I would just be like, sometimes I would be like, how can I tell someone to buy something that I didn't buy? And it's like I used to kind of have that mentality, and I quickly grew out of that because I ran out of money, and I was like, well, I would if I could, but no, it's it's a cool, I love crowdfunding, and I love the community involved in it, and I love that there's still some of us, Pink Buzz, House of Nerd, great examples, because we've all gotten lucky and gotten to interview bigger people, and like big two people, or like like doing big books at like DC. And I love that they have done, like we've all kind of done the same thing, where it's like, yeah, like these opportunities are awesome, but also like all of us, like we built our platforms from indie comics, and like we gained an audience off like promoting Kickstarters and stuff, and so I'll always have a soft spot for the indie creator and for the crowdfunded campaigns. And I hope I can always have space on my platform to help you guys out when I can, because it's either like you said, like I did good stuff for you, but it's like without indie comics and Kickstarter campaigns, man, that's how I started doing this stuff. That's how I came to YouTube, was I had those roundtables and had all those creators on at once, like everybody talking about like the campaigns. And it's like my channel is what it is because it was built off the bones of indie comics. So I'm always pay respects and give you guys the time and the love. Like that's never
fantastic. With this, I'm going to call this one done. Right, it's just a loose sketch. I'm going to stick this in when you get issue 7. I'm going to chuck this in so you've got an original art piece.
What?
I've just got to find something to put it. Oh, here we go. I'll just say I'm just going to find something to put it in. I'll sign it a little bit later, and then I'll chuck that original piece to you.
Dude, that's insane. You're ridiculous, Richard. Finally these interviews pay off. I get original art. No, I'm kidding. all the years of work. No, that's amazing. Well, Richard, it is it's Friday. Well, it's late for you, but it's Friday night for a lot of us, and I know I've kept you almost 2 hours, and it hasn't felt like I just looked at the time. I was like, holy shit, I can't believe we've been talking for like 2 hours. But it felt like catching up with a friend, man. It was so great to get to talk to you finally. And I hope like you're welcome back on the show anytime you want to put up with me again. I'm always happy to have you. Real quick, because you've mentioned your Instagram and stuff. Like tell everybody like where we need to follow you and keep track of you.
So yeah, the Instagram, Richard A. Morgan.
Okay.
As opposed to Richard K. Morgan, that author who people keep writing to me about. I love your Netflix show. I'm like, I've got a Netflix show. Fantastic. Yeah. So Richard A. Morgan, all one word.
That's funny.
On Twitter, it's Morgo Comics, MORGO Comics.
Which is that's the kind of what you've named your press, your publishing press, right?
It actually came from a friend. So a friend sent me some Warhammer Terminators to paint as a gift about a year and 2 years ago, and he just addressed it to Morgo, and then I went, That's the name of the comic company, Morgo. So yeah, Morgo Comics, one word on Twitter.
Nice.
And that's it. And then just on Kickstarter, just search Blam Glam,
Yeah.
and you'll see the craziness we're up to.
Yeah,
Like,
there's the
it's-
hashtag Blam Glam. You can look that up. If you follow me, it's easy to find. I've been talking about it a lot. If you follow Richard's been talking about it a lot. So it's if you want some Blam and Glam in your life, she's easy to find. Like it, you don't have to walk too far, ladies and gentlemen.
No, brilliant. Such a great session. Today's just flown by. So thank you so much.
Dude, no, thanks for coming on my show, man. It's a pleasure to get to talk to you. I for real, I love your art. I love what you're doing. I'm proud to work on this campaign with you. It was amazing. It's crazy. Like this 2 hours flew by, man. I looked at the time left of the campaign, and I was like, man, we went from like 22 days to just like 4 or 5 left. It's just like
yeah,
everything, like time stops for nobody, right? It always keeps moving. But yeah, it's so cool, and I can't wait to read the new issue. I can't wait to wrap up season 1 and reread it and find all the stuff that I missed or wasn't smart enough to pick up the first time. Like I said, I'm bad at the Easter egg. I'm trying to get better. I'm not great at it. Yeah, like everybody, for real, like you can first of all, just follow Richard. He's good people. He posts awesome art. His social media posts are always cool. And I can't recommend Blam and Glam enough. Like it's a very, very cool comic. Atomic Blonde, Aeon Flux, it gives nods to that, but he's also doing his own thing, taking the dystopian sci-fi storytelling element to new levels, new heights, with just absolutely gorgeous artwork. And I can't recommend it enough. Y'all need to check it out. And then follow him and all that. And like everybody, thanks for spending your Friday night with us. Like really, everybody that like hung out and gave the comments and everything. And I just really, really appreciate it. And as you all know, love more, hate less, read comics. That's the way to be. That's the way to live. And Richard, unless you got anything else to say, I'm gonna play the music and set you free, buddy.
Brilliant. Thank you once again.
Yeah, man, you are very welcome. Everybody have a great weekend, and we'll see you soon.
It's Blake's Buzz Live.